The Galactic Summit was the grandest event in the universe. Every major empire, every great species, every shining world sent its leaders to discuss the future of the stars. The hall floated inside a ringed megastructure the size of a small moon, glowing with banners and voices in 1,000 languages. But among all the shining symbols of power, there was one empty chair. The nameplate read a single word that made everyone laugh: Earth. For 50 years, no human had attended any summit. Many believed the species was finished, destroyed by internal wars or isolation. The Council of Empires did not care. To them, Earth was a forgotten story, a small blue world that had burned itself in arrogance. Now it was gone, and the galaxy moved on without it. Ambassador Velcor of the Xerix Empire tapped his claws on the table, smirking. "Humans were loud once," he said, his tone dripping with amusement. "Always claiming to be protectors of peace, and now look, silence." A wave of laughter echoed across the chamber. The delegates found it funny that humanity, the so-called warrior species, had vanished without even a goodbye. But far from the summit, beyond the spiral arms of the galaxy, humanity had not died. It had simply gone quiet. Deep inside the Sol system, under the shadow of Saturn's rings, colossal shipyards floated in silence. Metallic giants drifted like ghosts, each one a warship being born in secret. Earth was not attending the summit because Earth was preparing for something far greater. After the last galactic betrayal, when the Council ignored Earth's pleas for help during the Orion War, humanity had made a choice. No more alliances, no more begging. They turned inward, uniting all nations under one banner, the Terran Union. For decades, they rebuilt in silence, learning from every mistake, every lost battle, every betrayal. What the galaxy thought was weakness was actually patience. Inside a command station orbiting Mars, Admiral Kale watched the blue marble of Earth on the screen. The room was filled with soft hums of data and ship movements. He whispered, "They forgot about us, but we never forgot them." Engineers worked day and night on new technology, weapons that bent light, shields that could survive starfire, drives that crossed space faster than any alien design. Every piece of metal was a promise, every ship a memory of the dead left behind. When alien probes tried to enter Terran space, they vanished without a trace. When traders approached the border, they found only static. The galaxy started to call Earth a ghost planet. And yet, deep under the clouds, Earth's surface was alive with light. Cities powered by fusion burned brighter than suns, and from orbit, hundreds of fleets shimmered like silver oceans. A small Terran scout, Horizon 7, departed the Sol system for the first time in decades. Its hull bore no flag, only the quiet emblem of a blue Earth surrounded by a ring of silver stars. Its mission was simple: observe the galaxy that had once mocked them, record, learn, and prepare the message that would shake the stars. At the same time, across the galaxy, old memories began to stir. Some alien captains still remembered the humans, soldiers who never surrendered, miners who worked through storms, scientists who smiled even when their cities burned. They remembered how humanity had begged for help once, and how the galaxy had turned away. Now, whispers spread across the trade routes. Someone had seen a Terran ship, someone had heard a signal, and one message echoed across the dark frequencies: the children of Earth are awake. At the summit, when a young envoy from the Kyril Republic mentioned this rumor, the hall burst into laughter again. "Impossible," Velcor said, slamming his tail on the floor. "If humans had returned, we would know." But before the summit ended, a faint transmission arrived across the Council's communication hub. No encryption, no code, just a human voice, calm and clear. To the Galactic Council, the voice said, "Earth acknowledges your invitation." The room went silent. The voice continued, "We are late to the summit, but do not worry." There was a pause, the kind that makes even stars hold their breath. "We are coming." Outside the great ring of the summit, sensors blinked. Warp signatures appeared at the edge of known space. Not one, not 10, hundreds. Every screen showed the same thing. Unknown fleet incoming. Origin, Sol system. The guards looked at each other, hearts freezing in fear. In that moment, the galaxy realized something terrible. Earth had skipped every meeting, every discussion, every treaty. Because it had been building something far greater than words. It had been building 1,000 battle fleets. And now, those fleets were finally on their way. Panic spread through the Galactic Summit like wildfire. The screen still flickered with the human transmission, the calm voice echoing again and again. "We are coming." No one knew what it meant, or how serious it was. But deep inside, every leader in that chamber felt something they hadn't felt in centuries: fear. Across the galaxy, rumors exploded faster than light. Merchant ships whispered about massive fleets appearing near the rim, moving in perfect formation, silent, cold, unstoppable. Pirate outposts were found abandoned. Entire sectors reported dark. Then came the strange part. No destruction, no attacks, only silence. It was as if a storm was sweeping through space, clearing the path, but leaving no trace of fire. In the outer systems, small colonies began receiving coded transmissions in an ancient Terran language. Simple words, repeated again and again. "Stay calm, stay safe, help is near." At first, the aliens thought it was some old distress beacon. Then came the recordings, videos of humans landing on ruined worlds, handing food to starving children of other species, repairing broken water systems. They didn't come as conquerors. They came as saviors. But the galaxy didn't understand mercy anymore. For too long, the strong had ruled by fear, and the weak had learned only to kneel. So when the Terran fleets appeared in the outer zones, the local governors sent their armies to meet them. The battle never happened. The soldiers surrendered the moment they saw what stood before them. Ships larger than cities, black as the void, each marked with glowing blue lines forming a single emblem, a circle of stars around Earth. From the bridge of the flagship TSS Valiant, Admiral Kale stood with his hands behind his back. Through the wide viewing window, he could see the stars bending as the fleet moved. He turned to his second officer, Commander Rhea. "Begin the next phase," he said quietly. "Contact the liberated worlds." Rhea nodded, her voice calm but filled with pride. "The galaxy will know we have returned." In the following weeks, entire regions began to shift. Worlds that had once been under the control of cruel empires suddenly declared allegiance to the Terran Union. Not out of fear, but hope. The humans didn't demand tribute, didn't take resources, they gave back. They shared technology, cured diseases, rebuilt lost colonies. But every act of kindness carried a silent warning: do not test us again. The Council tried to hide the news, but it was useless. The Holonets were flooded with images of human fleets hovering above alien cities, their captains walking among crowds that once called them extinct. Children touched the metal armor of Terran soldiers, amazed by their calm eyes. When one alien reporter asked a human officer, "Why are you doing this?" the soldier smiled and said, "Because no one did it for us." Soon, the words spread across the stars like a sacred verse. Because no one did it for us. It became the motto of the new era. In secret, the Council began building its own defense fleet, fearing that the humans were preparing for war. But those who studied the Terran transmissions noticed something strange. Every message from Earth ended with the same phrase: "We remember." Not a threat, not a promise, something deeper, something eternal. In one of the Council strategy rooms, Ambassador Velcor stared at the images of Terran ships on the screen. "Primitive monkeys," he muttered, though his voice trembled. "They think they can scare us with their toys." But deep down, he knew those weren't toys. He had seen a Terran ship up close, once, long ago, during the Orion conflict. He had seen the way humans fought, not for power, not for pride, but because they refused to surrender, ever. In the shadows of the galaxy, humanity was rewriting the laws of fear. They didn't roar, they didn't boast. They simply acted. Every ship that passed left behind a trail of light and a legend. The Council finally called for an emergency meeting. They declared that Earth must be contacted before things spiraled out of control. But before they could send their envoys, the screens across the summit hall flickered once more. A single human face appeared, calm, emotionless, and proud. "This is Admiral Kale of the Terran Union Fleet," the voice said. "For 50 years, we watched, we built, and we remembered." The aliens leaned forward, frozen in silence. "Your worlds are safe, your people are free, but understand this: humanity does not forget." The screen faded to black, and the stars outside the summit hall dimmed. For the first time in galactic history, the mighty Council of Empires had no answer. Because humanity had spoken, not with words, but with presence. And their presence filled the stars. Across the galaxy, silence replaced laughter. The great empires that once mocked humanity now spoke its name in whispers. Everywhere, screens replayed the same transmission. Humanity does not forget. It echoed in the halls of power, in the markets of distant worlds, even in the dreams of those who had once turned their backs on Earth. On the colony world of Vetra 9, old archives opened for the first time in decades. Footage appeared, humans begging the Council for aid during the Orion War, cities burning, skies filled with enemy fire. The Council had chosen silence back then. Now the same faces that ignored the screams of dying humans sat in fear, watching the children of those victims return with fleets that blocked out the suns. In the Terran Union, memories were sacred. Every ship carried a memory core, a vault of history, containing the stories of Earth's fall and rise. When the fleet gathered, they played those recordings before every new recruit. Old voices, cracked with age, saying, "Never let them decide our worth again." It wasn't hatred that guided them, it was remembrance. Admiral Kale stood inside the command center of TSS Valiant, the stars reflecting in his cold gray eyes. Commander Rhea approached quietly, holding a report. "The Council is finally reaching out," she said. "They're asking for peace talks." Kale smiled, but there was no joy in it. "Peace," he said softly. "Now they remember that word." He turned to the viewing glass where the galaxy glittered. "They taught us what silence costs," he continued. "Now we show them what unity earns." Behind him, thousands of Terran officers listened without a word. Every one of them carried a scar, physical or emotional, from the old wars. They were not conquerors, they were witnesses, and their witness had turned to strength. Meanwhile, on distant worlds, the people, not the rulers, began to rise. In the mining sectors, alien workers held Terran flags painted on old steel plates. On slave worlds, rebellion banners glowed under human light. The Terran Union sent food, medicine, and power systems, never weapons. Because Earth didn't need to fight, it only needed to remind everyone what freedom looked like. Soon, across the stars, new words appeared on screens and city walls. Remember Earth. To some, it was fear. To others, it was hope. And slowly, the galaxy began to split, between those who wanted to keep the old order and those who dreamed of standing beside humanity. The Council met again, this time behind locked doors. Velcor slammed his claws against the table, his voice sharp with anger. "If we let them keep this influence, soon half the galaxy will follow their flag," he hissed. The Kyril envoy trembled. "And what do you suggest? War? They have 1,000 fleets." The room fell into uneasy silence. For the first time, even the proudest races realized the truth. No single empire could face Earth now, not even together. But humanity didn't seek war. Instead, it sent envoys to worlds that once ignored them, offering treaties of equality, not domination. Ambassador Alara, Earth's first diplomat to return to the stars, stood before the council chamber one quiet day. Her voice was calm, her presence like the stillness before dawn. 50 years ago, you called us desperate, she said. You watched our skies burn and did nothing. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we rebuilt, not because we hated you, but because we remembered who we were. The chamber was silent, every delegate frozen. Alara looked around the room, her gaze steady. You feared humanity's anger, she said softly. You should have feared our patience. Then she placed a small object on the table, a piece of metal, scorched and bent. This, she said, was from New Kyoto, one of the cities you refused to save. No one spoke, not even Velcor. Because in that small piece of burned metal lay a truth sharper than any weapon. As Alara left the chamber, a new transmission spread through the stars. Images of Earth rising again. Oceans glowing under orbital lights, cities floating in the skies, fleets docking in harmony. The message that followed was simple. We don't seek revenge, we seek remembrance. And in that moment, the galaxy understood something terrifying and beautiful. Humanity had not come back to destroy. It had come back to remind them all what they had forgotten. That strength was not in domination. It was in standing together. And as the fleets of Earth moved deeper into the stars, their engines hummed like a song of ghosts and glory. A song that said one truth again and again. We remember. The Galactic Summit prepared for disaster. Every screen glowed with red warnings. Every leader shouted orders into comms. The entire structure trembled in orbit above the neutral world of Varan Prime. Something massive was coming, something older than fear itself. At first, the sensors picked up a single warp signature. Then 10, then 100. The readings went off-scale, showing distortions across light years of space. The skies outside the summit darkened as if night itself had risen from the void. And then, the stars vanished. Not because they faded, but because something blocked them. Thousands of colossal ships appeared in formation, each one forged from black alloy that shimmered like glass, their hulls lined with glowing blue veins of energy. From orbit, they looked like a field of suns burning in silence. A single emblem shone across every ship, the circle of stars around Earth, the mark of the Terran Union. The council chamber fell silent. Velcor gripped the edge of the table, his scales trembling. This can't be real, he whispered. The Kyril envoy collapsed into her chair, staring at the screens as if watching the end of creation. Every sensor in the system struggled to measure the fleet's power, but the data was beyond calculation. Each ship carried the energy output of a small star. Each formation moved with precision only possible through unified will. Then a single transmission broke through the static. The voice was calm, steady, unmistakably human. Galactic Council, this is Admiral Kale of the Terran Union Fleet. His tone was not angry, not mocking, simply cold and full of history. 50 years ago, you left us to burn, he said. We have not forgotten. Outside, one by one, the Terran fleets activated their light engines, creating a golden halo across the void. It wasn't an attack, it was a statement. Inside the summit chamber, panic turned to awe. Every delegate stood as a massive hologram of the Terran fleet appeared above the council table. Kale's face filled the room. Pale light, gray eyes, a man carved from silence and purpose. We are not here for revenge, he said. We are here to return what was denied. Respect. He gestured slightly, and behind him, the camera showed thousands of ships standing in perfect formation. This is not a threat, Kale continued. It is a reminder. Humanity remembers what it means to stand for something greater than fear. The Xerix delegates began shouting, "You can't intimidate the council." Kale looked straight into the feed, his eyes sharp as a blade. Intimidation is for those who need to be feared, he said. We only need to be remembered. Outside, the Terran fleets began to move slowly around the summit world, every ship gliding in silence, their blue lights forming rings that wrapped the planet like a glowing crown. From the surface, it looked like a sunrise made of metal and power. The people below fell to their knees, not in terror, but in awe. Then, something unexpected happened. A small shuttle separated from the largest Terran dreadnought. It descended toward the summit platform, cutting through the storm of lights. No escort, no weapons active, only the Terran flag glowing on its hull. The chamber gasped as it landed outside, the door opening with a hiss of white light. A single human stepped out, walking calmly toward the hall. She wore silver armor polished to a mirror's shine, her eyes steady, her pace slow. When she entered, every alien fell silent. The human removed her helmet. It was Ambassador Alara, the first Terran to set foot on a council world in half a century. She stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by those who had once laughed at her kind. On behalf of Earth, she said softly, we apologize for our delay. Her voice carried through every speaker, every heart. We had a few things to rebuild. Laughter did not follow this time. Only silence, the kind that stretched across stars. Alara looked up at the giant hologram of the fleet behind her. Once, you called us too emotional, she said. Now, our emotions built what your logic could not. She raised her hand, and outside, the Terran fleets aligned perfectly, 1,000 formations glowing like constellations reborn. The entire galaxy watched as she finished her words. Earth has returned, she said, not to join your council, but to remind you. Unity is strength, and humanity remembers. The chamber lights dimmed, and the feed spread across the stars. Every world, every race, Every forgotten colony saw the image of that woman standing alone before the galaxy. Behind her, the 1,000 Terran fleets moved like living stars, lighting the void with silent pride. The era of mockery was over. The age of Earth had begun. The day Earth returned to the stars became the day the galaxy changed forever. For the first time in history, the Council of Empires fell silent. No orders, no threats, no laughter. Only the reflection of Terran light burning across their faces. In that stillness, humanity spoke, not with weapons, but with truth. Admiral Kale's voice echoed through every network, every world, every home. Humanity does not seek vengeance, he said, his tone calm and steady. But understand this, we will never kneel again. The message was transmitted across the stars, reaching even the most distant colonies. Some rulers called it arrogance, but their people called it hope. On the mining moon of Rask, the workers stopped their drills to watch the broadcast. Covered in dust, their eyes shone with tears as they saw the Terran fleets hovering above a distant sun. They came back, whispered one miner. The humans, they actually came back. From that moment, rebellion was born, not from hatred, but from courage. Across the Xerix territories, slaves began painting Terran symbols on the walls, a circle of stars around a blue world. They whispered old Earth words like prayers, freedom, unity, home. The galaxy had long forgotten what those words meant. But now, because of humanity, they burned again. Back on the Terran flagship, Admiral Kale stood beside Ambassador Alara. The two watched countless transmissions pouring in, worlds asking for help, refugees offering allegiance, colonies pledging loyalty. Kale smiled faintly. We didn't even fire a shot, he said. Alara nodded. We didn't need to. In the council, fear turned to panic. Velcor shouted across the chamber. They are spreading like a disease. But the younger ambassadors didn't agree. One of them, from the smaller Tvarn Republic, stood up and said, perhaps it's not a disease, perhaps it's a cure. The words echoed louder than any argument. Meanwhile, the Terran fleets continued their quiet mission. They arrived at forgotten planets and rebuilt what others had destroyed. They didn't demand tribute. They restored power grids, purified water, healed the sick. Everywhere they went, they left light behind. Even the harshest critics began to see a pattern. Earth was not building an empire of war, but a union of trust. Yet, in secret, some feared the calm. Because kindness backed by power is the most dangerous kind of strength. The Council tried to send spies, but Terran security was impenetrable. Every ship was protected by an artificial intelligence network, connected, aware, loyal. One spy who returned alive said only this. They don't think like us anymore. They think as one. Back on Earth, life was no longer about survival. It was about purpose. The planet had become a symbol. Blue oceans reflecting the lights of orbiting ships, continents alive with energy. People walked the streets knowing their actions shaped the fate of galaxies. Children studied star maps instead of history books, because their history was still being written. A few weeks after the summit, a final message appeared on every galactic screen. It wasn't from Kale this time, but from a voice millions recognized, the president of the Terran Union. Her words were simple. To those who doubted us, we forgive you, she said. To those who feared us, we understand you. But to those who still seek to enslave or destroy, we promise, humanity will stand between you and your victims. And we will not move. Those words spread like wildfire. Whole worlds cheered, while others fell silent. The galaxy realized that humanity had become something impossible to control, not conquerors, not saints, but guardians. And in that moment, every empire, every ruler, and every child understood one truth. Earth had not come to rule. It had come to remind the stars what it means to care. From the edges of the galaxy, a single phrase began to rise. It spread through soldiers, merchants, and wanderers alike. If Earth stands with us, we are not alone. And as night fell over 1,000 worlds, the glow of the Terran fleets shimmered like constellations reborn, not as weapons of war, but as beacons of hope, because humanity had remembered. And this time, the galaxy would remember too. The galaxy was glowing with the light of Terran fleets, but not everyone saw that light as hope. In the deep core of the Xerix Empire, The old warlords gathered in fury. They were the oldest and most powerful of all alien rulers, their pride older than their stars. To them, humanity's rise was an insult, a wound that burned deeper than any weapon. Velcor stood before the Council of Warlords, his scales dark with rage. They spread like fire, he roared. Our colonies whisper their name. Our soldiers refuse orders. He slammed his claws against the steel floor, sparks flying. Are we to let these Terrans rewrite galactic order? His voice echoed through the dark chamber, filled with shadows of ancient power. The Warlord Prime leaned forward, his voice like a storm. Then we remind them of their place, he hissed. If they built fleets, we will burn them. And so, in secret, the Xerix Empire began its plan. An armada of 200 warships, armed with plasma storms and planet killers. They called it Operation Eclipse, meant to crush Earth's pride before it spread further. Days later, deep in the void near the neutral system of Draven Reach, Terran patrols detected movement. A swarm of red signatures appeared, stretching across the stars. Commander Rhea reported to Admiral Kale, her tone calm but firm. Enemy fleet detected, Xerix signatures confirmed. Kale didn't flinch, he simply whispered. They couldn't resist. While the galaxy watched in terror, the Terran Union did not move its grand fleet. Instead, only a single formation approached, 20 ships led by the dreadnought TSS Resolute. The Xerix commanders laughed when they saw the numbers. 20 ships. Velcor sneered. They mock us. But the laughter didn't last. The first Xerix salvo unleashed waves of plasma that could shatter moons. The Terran fleet didn't even dodge. Their shields shimmered once, then silence. Every scanner failed to read their defense levels. Every weapon fired back vanished into nothingness. Then the humans moved. One Terran ship vanished, reappeared behind the Xerix flagship, and fired a single pulse. The explosion consumed half the enemy formation, turning darkness into daylight. The battle was over before it began. The Xerix Armada, the pride of their empire, burned into dust in under 8 minutes. When the survivors tried to flee, they found their engines frozen. A voice filled their comms. This is Admiral Kale, it said quietly. You attacked unprovoked. This mercy is your only warning. Then the Terran fleet disappeared, leaving no trace except silence and wreckage. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. For centuries, the Xerix Empire had been untouchable. Now, its pride was broken in front of everyone. In the council chambers, the delegates sat in horror. Velcor returned bruised and defeated, his arrogance crushed under the weight of reality. He tried to speak, but no words came. The galaxy had witnessed something impossible, not a war, but a demonstration. Humanity had fought without hatred, without chaos, only precision. Ambassador Alara addressed the council soon after. She didn't shout or accuse. She simply spoke. Power means nothing without control, she said, and mercy means nothing without strength. Her words were calm, but they carried the weight of galaxies. The council listened, and for the first time, even Velcor bowed his head. In the following days, Xerix fleets surrendered voluntarily. They sent envoys to Earth asking for negotiations. Kale accepted without triumph. He met them aboard the TSS Valiant, greeted them not as enemies, but as equals. Pride destroyed you once, he told them. Humility will rebuild you. That single meeting changed history. Empires that once ruled through fear began to reconsider their ways. Worlds that once laughed at Earth now looked to it for guidance. Because in that quiet, powerful victory, humanity had proven something far greater than strength. It had proven wisdom. And as the fleets of Earth drifted through the silent void, their lights reflected on shattered debris like stars reborn. The message was clear. Humanity did not destroy arrogance. It taught it a lesson. And from that day on, even the proudest rulers spoke the name of Earth with respect. The galaxy had learned that kindness backed by power is not weakness. It is destiny. The war was over before it truly began. The galaxy had seen the fall of arrogance and the rise of unity. For the first time in known history, the stars spoke the same word, Earth. Not as a threat, not as a myth, but as a promise. The Terran fleets no longer patrolled as soldiers of war. They became guardians of peace, drifting through the void like silent watchers. Their engines hummed softly, not in warning, but in song. Everywhere they went, life followed, trade returned, hope awakened. In the heart of the Galactic Council, the Great Hall had changed. The banners of division were gone, replaced by one emblem, a circle of stars around a blue world. The seat that once stood empty was now filled. Ambassador Alara sat there, calm and radiant, the living symbol of Earth's return. When she spoke, even the oldest empires listened. Once, she said, we were forgotten. Now we choose to remember everyone. Her words carried through the chamber like sunlight through dark glass. This council once believed strength meant domination, she continued. But Earth has learned that true strength is compassion bound by courage. Behind her, a projection of the galaxy appeared, dotted with glowing lights. Each light represented a world that had joined the Terran Accord, a union built on cooperation, not control. From the frozen moons of the Outer Rim to the green jungles of alien worlds, millions now lived under the shared code of peace. One phrase connected them all. We remember. Admiral Kale, now older, stood aboard the flagship TSS Valiant, staring at the endless field of stars. His reflection shimmered against the glass as he whispered, "They mocked us once, but now they follow our light." Commander Rhea smiled beside him. "Because we didn't conquer them," she said softly. "We reminded them who they could be." Far below, on Earth, the planet thrived like never before. Skies filled with silver arcs of ships, oceans glowed with floating cities, and forests had returned stronger than in any age before. Children studied not just human history, but the languages of 100 species. They were taught that kindness without strength is fragile, and strength without kindness is hollow. In one corner of the city, a monument stood, tall, simple, eternal. It held no weapons, no flags, only names. The names of the lost, the forgotten, the betrayed. Under it, a line carved in metal read, "They left us to burn, but we rose from the ashes to light their sky." The galaxy watched Earth not as a ruler, but as a guide. When disputes arose between empires, Terran diplomats arrived. When famine struck colonies, Terran ships brought food before anyone asked. And when darkness returned to distant corners of space, humanity's voice echoed again, calm and resolute. We are here. But not everyone understood peace easily. Some still feared the humans, thinking their unity too strong, their silence too deep. Yet even the doubters couldn't deny what they saw. Humanity had built an empire without conquest, an army without cruelty, a future without chains. During the final session of the new council, Alara stood once more before the assembly. 50 years ago, you closed your doors to us, she said, but we opened ours to everyone. The chamber stood still, her voice carrying through every starship, every world, every living soul. You feared that humanity would rise to rule you, she continued. But we rose to remind you that power means nothing without purpose. The galaxy bowed that day, not in submission, but in respect. The fleets of 1,000 worlds drifted in harmony, their lights forming a map of peace across the void. And above them all, Earth glowed blue and proud, the heart of the stars reborn. As the night stretched across the Milky Way, the transmissions faded into one final phrase. A whisper carried by every signal, every heart, every home. Remember Earth. Because in the end, humanity did not return to claim the galaxy. It returned to heal it. And its legacy was not written in fire, but in light. For as long as stars burn, and voices speak, one truth would echo through eternity. Humanity remembers.